Actually, first let's talk about this. Let's talk about this 2 night concept for a second. Do you guys like it? Do you not like it? I'm actually very curious because I'm still kind of questioning that myself. Because on one hand, like 2 nights, I'll tell you this right now. What I do not like, for sure, what I am not debating on, is that one singular 8 to 9 hour show is complete and utter ass cheeks. Terrible. You think back to, what was it, WrestleMania 35? Was that the last big WrestleMania? Do you remember really anything from that show other than the main event and maybe one or two other matches? Because there was what, like 14, 15 matches on that show at least? And I don't know about you. I don't remember hell, even like I remember what matches, some of the matches. I don't remember what happened in the matches. It's because it all blurs together. You get halfway through and you're tired and you're like looking at the clock, like, oh, and you're like counting in your head how many matches are left, just wanting it to be over. You shouldn't be watching a show waiting for it to be over. And for that reason, I do like the 2 night concept, just because obviously it splits everything in half. So, I mean, each night was what? I don't even know how long they were. That's how you can tell. I wasn't looking at the clock. I wasn't like, oh Jesus, how far are we in? No, it was I was watching the show and then it was done. And I was like, oh wow, it's over. They couldn't have been longer than 4 hours. Maybe somewhere in between 3 and 4, right? I think that's the sweet spot, honestly. So in that instance, I do like how they have split it into 2 nights. However, there's also the aspect of, because you have night one and night two. Obviously, we've all seen it at this point, so we all have our opinions on each night. It seems almost unanimous. And when I say almost, I mean I literally haven't seen anybody that says otherwise. It seems unanimous that night one was better than night two. Now, is that because the matches were better? Is that because the pacing of the show was better? I mean, there's a lot of questions at play here, and really, we can't really judge it too much because, in all reality, this is the first time they've done it. I know they did it last year, but that doesn't count. We all know that doesn't count as a WrestleMania. So that's because there's no crowd to base it on, because that's a very important element that comes into play when splitting this show into 2 nights. So that last year, 2020 doesn't count. But yeah, night one just seems so much more. See, I was going to say lively, but that's not even the case. Because the crowd was definitely into it in night two. I'd even argue the crowd seemed more alive in the second night. Throughout the entire show, right? Maybe that's because of the rain delay and all that shit, but we'll get into that. But yeah, it's just had a weird energy. Maybe is it that just the momentum? Because night one, and we're gonna get into it, but night one was amazing. That could have been a standalone WrestleMania, and maybe add one or two matches to that, and that would have been a beautiful WrestleMania. But then night one happens, and then it's over. Everybody goes to sleep. Everybody goes through their Sunday day activities, and then you have WrestleMania night two. And it's like, we're doing this again? Oh, yeah, I guess. Like, there's somewhat of an excitement, like, oh, man, night one was so great. I can't wait to do it again. But one, that sets a high bar. Two, night two open with the same video package and the same arena. It's almost like a thing. Like, WrestleMania is always like, oh, man, I can't wait to see, the stage set up. I can't wait to see this huge crowd. I can't wait to see all the spectacle. We've already seen all the spectacle before because we saw it last night. So there's almost an element of like, there's a high bar. Two, we've already seen this before. So it's like, we're not as excited to see just the spectacle in general. And three, there's like, we had all this momentum in night one, and now that kind of just halted, obviously, because it's a different night. But it's almost like that momentum, separating it by a day, it prevents that momentum from carrying over almost. That's kind of how I saw it. And like I said, we can't really judge it too objectively because this is the only piece of data that we have, right? It's this one singular time that they've done this. So I'm all for them keeping the 2-night concept going forward as long as it makes sense. Ultimately, it gets a lot of people on the card, but it allows the fans to be able to digest it through a 3 to 4 hour show rather than one singular 9-hour marathon. And nobody likes to watch wrestling that long straight. So I think one singular 5-hour show is the best option. And I think number 2 is 2 nights of 3 to 4 hour shows. And then the third and worst option by far is the one singular marathon of a show that goes like 9-10 hours, like we have had in the past few years. So 2 nights, like I said, it's better than that. But the jury's still out, I guess. But yeah, I'm curious to what all you guys think about WrestleMania being separated into 2 nights. I know New Japan has done the same thing with their Wrestle Kingdom, and I kind of almost have similar thoughts to that as well. But, it's apples and oranges, so I won't get into it too much. But